This meeting is being live streamed.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. This meeting is... Okay. Krishna, 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 hey, Krishna, 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 Rakshamam, Krishna, 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 Pahimam, Krishna, 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 Pahimam, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. I just wanted to do a recap on what we've been reading. So, from what you were telling me, Krishna Chandra Prabhu, we had covered chapters 39 and 40 yesterday completely, correct?
Chapters 38 and 39.
Oh, 38 and 39.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you said 39 and 40.
Nope. I actually mentioned it twice in messages.
Oh. Huh.
I said we will start with 40.
We're starting with 40. I see. I got a little ahead of myself. Okay. So we covered 38 and 39. All right.
Welcome, Nanda Patni.
Hare Krishna.
Nanda Patni, obeisances to you.
Obeisances to you.
So we're just, I'm just doing a recap here. Chapter 38, Jakura's arrival in Vrindavan. You did that last night along with 39, correct? 38 and 39.
Yeah.
So in 38, we heard about Jakura's trip from Mathura to Vrindavan, his meditation on Krishna and Balaram along the way, and the honor the two lords showed Jakura upon his arrival. Early in the morning on the day after Kamsa had ordered him to bring Krishna and Balaram to Mathura, Jakura prepared his chariot and set off for Gokul. As he traveled, he thought, I'm about to attain the great fortune of seeing Sri Krishna's lotus feet, which are worshipped by Brahma, Rudra, and the other demigods. Although Kamsa is an enemy of the Supreme Lord and his devotee, still it is by Krishna's grace that I will get this great boon of seeing the Lord. When I first catch sight of his holy feet, lotus feet, all my sinful reactions will be destroyed at once. I will descend from my chariot, fall at the feet of Krishna Balaram, and even though I've been sent by Kamsa, the omniscient Sri Krishna will certainly harbor no animosity toward me. As Jakura thus thought to himself, he arrived in Gokul at sunset. Alighting from his chariot in the coward pasture, he began rolling about in the dust in great ecstasy. Then Akrura continued on to Vraj. When he saw Krishna and Balaram, he fell at their lotus feet, and both the lords embraced him. Afterward, they brought him to their residence, inquired from him about the comfort of his trip, and honored him in various ways, offering him water for washing his feet. Yes, I remember reading that with all of you. Arghya, a seat, and so forth. They relieved him of his fatigue by massaging his feet and served him a delicious banquet. Maharaj Nanda was also honored Akrura with many sweet words. So you couldn't have read this the other night, Krishna Chandra Prabhu, because I read this with you. That was chapter 38 I read with you. Excuse me?
We read the next chapter.
Chapter 39.
Yeah.
Yeah, Krishna Chandra Prabhu told me that you read 2 chapters.
Yeah, it seemed that I think we probably came in towards the end of 38. And then we completed 39.
Okay, because I read 38 with you. So you must have read part of it again.
Maybe, yes. I mean, none of us quite know where we end up.
We were not 100% clear of where we finished. But,
Okay. So chapter 39 is Akrura's vision. And just to do looking at the summary here in the actual Bhagavatam itself. So what we heard in Akrura's vision is how Akrura informed Krishna and Lord Balaram of Kamsa's plans and his activities in Mathura, what the gopis cried out in distress when Krishna left for Mathura, and also the vision of Lord Vishnu's abode that Akrura saw within the water of the Yamuna.
Mm-hmm.
When Krishna and Balaram offered Akrura great respect and comfortably seated him on a couch, he felt that all the desires he had reflected on while traveling to Vrindavan were now fulfilled. After the evening meal, Krishna asked Akrura whether his trip had been peaceful and whether he was well. So personal. The Lord is so personal. The Supreme Person, of course. The Lord also inquired about how Kams was behaving toward their family members and finally asked why Akrura had come. Akrura described how Kams had been persecuting the Yadavas, what Narada had told Kams, and how Kams had been treating Vasudeva cruelly. Akrura also spoke of Kamsa's desires to bring Krishna and Balaram to Mathura to kill them on the pretext of their seeing the bow sacrifice and engaging in a wrestling match. Krishna and Balaram laughed out loud when they heard this. They went to their father, Nanda, and informed him of Kamsa's orders. Nanda then issued an order to all the residents of Vraj that they should collect various offerings for the king and prepare to go to Mathura. So how odd. I mean, you're going to go and visit the person that's planning to kill you, and they gather various offerings. Such perfect, how could you top etiquette more than that? Coming to honor the person that's planning to kill you.
I assumed it was because it's Dwapara Yuga and they were more civilized in those days.
Nandapatni?
I mean, of course, Krishna and Balaram, they're absolutely going to thrash Kamsa.
Right.
So it's kind of fun for them. But I was thinking that actually Vasudeva, Vasudeva and Devaki, I mean, in quotation marks, they suffer. Really, don't they? I mean, because their children were killed by, Kamsa,
yes.
And they're locked in this prison.
They were in lockdown.
Yeah, it wasn't a piece of cake, I mean, they had quite an unusual, what's the word? Experience of Krishna. I mean, obviously they were in awe and reverence when he appeared to them. So obviously they have that to go on. But nonetheless, I mean, their children were killed.
I appreciate your highlighting this, because usually we cite the examples of Prahlad Maharaj, Haridas Thakur, the five Pandavas, as Queen Kunti, Vipada. What is her verse? Vipada Shantuya Shashvat Tatra Tatra Jagat Gurom Krishna. May these calamities come upon me again and again, so that we may think of. So we think of these examples, but most of the time I forget. I'm grateful you're reminding me that yes, Devaki and Vasudeva, so much hardship, all their children being killed, and they're locked down in the prison.
But they did actually know, unlike Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, who just, see Krishna as their adorable child. Mm-hmm. Devaki and Vasudeva, they did actually know that Krishna was God. So like I say, they had, even though they were locked away, and they could probably, I haven't read very much about, not their feelings, but, how they actually responded to these children being killed and everything. And also, I think it is actually Vasudeva who carries Krishna to Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda.
Cool.
Yeah. So, it's just, we don't hear so much about they themselves, if you know what I mean. We see the context of Krishna appearing to them and this kind of situation with Kamsa, but we don't really, like you're saying, we don't really read about them in their own right. And yet,
I would assume,
parents,
yes, I would assume, I don't want to make too much of an assumption, but I would assume that Ananda Vrindavan Champu and what are the other ones that we heard from Mahabodhi Prabhu?
Gopal Champu, I think.
Gopal Champu, Ananda Vrindavan Champu, and I don't know what the other Champu is, but we hear in those books much more detail.
Yeah.
That would be interesting to hear their thoughts.
They are his parents.
Right. But Yoga Maya did cover them over, because it's hard to figure out, because when he was first born, they thought, oh no, you look too much like God. It's kind of confusing, because when he appears as Vishnu, they're like, no, can you just take the form of an ordinary baby so that you're not so noticeable? And then the doors open for them, and all the guards are put asleep, and then Vasudeva is able to make it over the Jamuna to Gokul.
We had this discussion a couple of months ago, and Jivan Mukta was particularly interested in this point about how the residents in Vrindavan see Krishna as God, and then they kind of become covered in a positive way, and then just see him in the particular ras that they're in with him.
Right.
But it kind of ebbs and flows. It's not.
And I ran that by Tridandi Maharaj. I said it seems that Yoga Maya is present when she's needed in order to enact the Leela, and Tridandi Maharaj agreed.
Yes. I was reading a little bit about it today from Narayan Maharaj too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, it's okay. Let me just send a message out to Mahabodhi Prabhu that we've begun, because I'm usually depending on him to show, since Friday is the only day that he seems to be available. And I'll just say, we are waiting for you.
Okay. If you're around.
What's that?
If you're around, no pressure.
If you are around, no pressure. Jakura's vision. Okay, good. That's done. So back to us. All right. So I'm just trying to do the recap here. So all right, so after the evening meal, Krishna and Balarama are laughing out loud. You hear that they're being invited to a wrestling match to get killed. They just laugh it off. I just love I love their, I don't know, would it be correct to say laissez-faire attitude? Just
Yeah,
easygoing.
yeah. It's all, enjoyable Leela for them.
Yeah. Like bring it on. Bring it on,
Smashing
Kamsa.
demons is fun for them.
Yes. Yeah. They get the sport.
Yeah.
They get to do it
Twirling
out.
donkeys and the like.
Pardon?
Twirling donkeys and the like.
Quarreling donkeys.
Twirling.
Oh, twirling donkeys. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So it describes that Nanda then issued an order for all the residents of Raj that they should collect various offerings for the king and prepare to go to Mathura. The young gopis were extremely upset to hear that Krishna and Balaram would be going to Mathura. They lost all external awareness and began to remember Krishna's pastimes, condemning the creator for separating them from him. They began to lament. They said that Akrura did not deserve his name, not Krura, cruel, since he was so cruel to be taking away dearmost Krishna. It must be that fate is against us, they lamented, because otherwise the elders of Raj would have forbidden Krishna to leave. So let us forget our shyness and try to stop Lord Madhava from going. With these words, the young coward girls began to chant Krishna's names and cry. But even as they wept, Akrura began taking Krishna and Balaram to Mathura in his chariot. The coward, can you imagine how Akrura must have felt with gopis insulting him and crying? And I mean, that must be in some shastra also, I'm assuming. Because I can't imagine being Akrura doing that to the gopis. The coward men of Gokul followed behind on their wagons, and the young gopis also walked behind for some distance, but then they became placated by Krishna's glances and gestures and pacified by a message from him that said, I will return. So you covered this all the other night, right?
Yeah, we read right to the end. Yeah.
With their minds completely absorbed in Krishna, the coward girls stood as still as figures in a painting until they could no longer see the chariot's flag or the dust cloud being raised on the road. Then, chanting Krishna's glories all the while, they despondently returned to their homes. Akrura halted the chariot at the bank of the Jamuna so Krishna and Balaram could perform a ritual of purification and drink some water. After the two lords had gotten back into the chariot, Akrura took their permission to bathe in the Yamuna. So polite, asking the Lord, may I take a bath?
Of course.
Yes. As he recited Vedic mantras, he was startled to see the two lords standing in the water. Akrura came out of the river and returned to the chariot, where he saw the Lord still sitting. Then he returned to the water to find out if the two figures he had seen were real or not. What Akrura saw in the water was four-armed Lord Vasudeva. His complexion was dark blue, like a fresh rain cloud. He wore yellow garments, and he lay on the lap of the thousand-hooded Anantashesh. Lord Vasudeva was receiving the prayers of perfected beings, celestial serpents and demons, and he was encircled by his personal attendants. Serving him were his many potencies, such as Shri, Pushti, and Ila. While Brahma and other demigods sang his praises, Akrura rejoiced at this vision and, joining his palms in supplication, began to pray to the Supreme Lord in a voice choked with emotion. So I have prepared here some paintings to commemorate what we've been reading. Here's the original Krishna book painting of that vision. Looks like Akrura there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then there's Krishna and Balaram on the chariot on the top left. And then there's all the sages offering their prayers to Lord Vishnu in the water.
Yeah.
Akrura is known there's a verse in the 12th canto describing how Shukadeva Goswami achieved perfection by reciting the Bhagavatam. Parikshit Maharaj achieved perfection by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam, achieved perfection by remembering the Lord. And Akura, Vandanam, achieved perfection by offering prayers. It's a 12th canto verse like that. And then I'm trying to remember the rest. Lakshmi Devi, Padasevanam, she achieved perfection by worshiping the lotus feet of the Lord. And then Dasyam Sakyam, Dasyam, maybe that's Hanuman carrying out the orders of the Lord. Sakyam, I don't know if that's Arjuna.
Sakyam, yeah.
And then Atmanivedanam is Bali Maharaj, because he offered everything. He offered his head to the Lord to be stepped on. So a couple of other, let's see, I'm getting ahead of myself there. Here, okay, so here's the earlier. This is, I think, maybe done by Vrindavan Das of the Gopis leaving, Krishna leaving, and Balaram. There's Mathura riding the chariot, the chariot driver. The Gopis freaking out. If I can use that language, if I'm allowed.
Not that appropriate.
Thank you. I'm glad I have your permission.
Yeah. Yes.
Here's a one by B.G. Sharma, the same pastime.
That's very colorful, isn't it? Yeah. Highly stylized.
Shuddha Sindhu, do you see these?
Yes, I saw. Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's got the emotions in the movements and postures of the gopis. Well, you know, he's tried to capture these feelings of devastation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for pointing that out. I love the sky in the background as well.
The banana trees.
Oh, yes, also.
And I think Kadamba trees he's tried to do, because they have the yellow ball
flowers.
flowers. Yeah.
Oh, amazing painting.
Yeah, lots of detail in that.
We're coming. This is what we're coming. Oh, here's another one. This painting was done by Parikshit Prabhu, the same pastime.
Very nice.
Looks slightly a little less emotional than B.G. Sharma's.
It's more subtle. It's not so
Right.
obvious. It's more internal. You can still feel their internal mood. Yeah, it's very nicely observed. Beautifully done. I would give that top marks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, especially from an art connoisseur such as yourself.
Well, I used to be a fine art artist at art school. So.
Oh, yes?
Yeah, Jakura actually asked me to paint for the books, and I was trying to get back to do that and got stuck in Canada and therefore joined in Canada. But I actually was on the way to the art studio and never got there, sadly.
You got into the Sankirtan band instead.
Yes, I did.
No loss or diminution at that.
No loss there.
No.
Krishna knew what he wanted me to do.
Okay, so
they're the 4 Kumaras. Yeah, to see it done.
Yes, I saw them there. Okay, Shuddha Sindhu, after me, I see in the lineup here, the order is you're next, and then let me just stop sharing for a second, just to give the order of reading. Oh no, now it's Krishna Chandra. Shuddha Sindhu is not there. She was at the beginning. Now it's Krishna Chandra, then Nandapatni, then Shuddha Sindhu. So we can read in that order. I've just done a lot of reading. So Krishna Chandra, if you'd like to continue, Prabhu, with a couple of paragraphs. Chapter 40, Krishna enters Mathura. Right? Correct?
Yes.
I concur. While Jakura was offering his prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord disappeared from the water, exactly as an expert dramatic actor changes his dress and assumes his original feature. After the Vishnumurti disappeared, Jakura got out of the water. Finishing the rest of his ritualistic performance, he went near the chariot of Balaram, and Krishna was stuck with wonder.
Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to be sure because the chapters in the Krishna book and the chapters in the Bhagavatam are not exactly the same. So you read the prayers of Akura yesterday evening, correct?
We finished chapter 39, so we did not. I'm sure this is where we're supposed to be now.
Yeah.
Because chapter 39 in the actual Bhagavatam is Akura's vision.
Well, we didn't read the Srimad Bhagavatam on Wednesday. We read Krishna book.
No, I know that. I mean, I'm talking about the same pastimes in the Bhagavatam and how they correlate to the ones in the Krishna book. Chapter 39 is Akura's vision, but in the Krishna book itself, it's what? I'd have to go and find I'd have to go back here.
I can tell you.
It's the prayers by Akura. So you did the prayers by Akura last night, correct?
Yes.
Nandapatni? Yes?
Yeah, I'm just double checking.
The last paragraph was Akura saying, now, my Lord, I'm completely surrendered unto you. Please give me your protection. Does that ring a bell, everyone? Yes?
Prayers by Akura. Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's completed.
Yeah.
I didn't mention, so now, how do I get to chapter 4?
Yeah, please give me your protection. Yes. So we read all the prayers. That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Gauradas Prabhu, I'm not able to read yet. I just listen because I'm outside in the car.
Okay, very good. Fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let us know when you can read. Let us know when you
Okay.
can. Okay.
Yeah.
Please continue.
All right. Krishna asked whether he had seen something wonderful within the water or in space. Akura said, "My dear Lord, all wonderful things that are happening within this world, either in the sky or in the water or on the land, are factually appearing in your universal form. So when I have seen you, what wonderful things have I not seen?" This statement confirms the Vedic version that one who knows Krishna knows everything, and one who has seen Krishna has seen everything, regardless of how wonderful a thing may be. My dear Lord, Akura continued, there cannot be anything more wonderful than your transcendental form. When I have seen your transcendental form, what is there left to see? After saying this, Akura immediately started the chariot. By the end of the day, they had almost reached the precincts of Mathura. When passing from Vrindavan to Mathura, all passerby along the way who saw Krishna and Balaram could not help but to look at them again and again. In the meantime, the other inhabitants of Vrindavan, headed by Nanda and Upananda, had already reached Mathura by going through forests and rivers, and they were awaiting the arrival of Krishna and Balaram. Upon reaching the entrance to Mathura, Krishna and Balaram got down from the chariot and shook hands with Akura. Krishna informed Akura, "You may go home now because we shall enter Mathura along with our associates." Akura replied, "My dear Lord, I cannot go to Mathura alone, leaving you aside. I am your surrendered servant. Please do not try to avoid me. Please come along with me, with your elder brother and cowherd boyfriends, and sanctify my house. My dear Lord, if you come, my home will be sanctified by the dust of your lotus feet. The water emanating from the perspiration of your lotus feet, namely the Ganges, purifies everyone, including the forefathers, the fire god, and all other demigods. King Bali Maharaj has become famous simply by washing your lotus feet, and all his relatives have achieved the heavenly planet due to his contact with the Ganges River. Bali Maharaj himself enjoyed all material opulences and later on was elevated to the highest exalted position of liberation. The Ganges water not only sanctifies the three worlds, but is carried on the head of Lord Shiva. O Supreme Lord of all lords, O Master of the universe, I offer my respectful, please scroll, obeisances unto you.
And the Patni?
Yeah, on hearing this, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, replied, Akrura, I shall surely come to your home with my elder brother Balaram, but only after killing all the demons who are envious of the Yadu dynasty. In this way, I shall please all my relatives. Akrura became a little disappointed by these words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he couldn't disregard the order. He therefore entered Mathura and informed Kamsa about the arrival of Krishna, and then he entered his own home. After the departure of Akrura, Lord Krishna, Balaram, and the cowherd boys entered Mathura to see the city. They observed that the gate of Mathura was made of first-class marble, very well constructed, and the doors were made of pure gold. There were gorgeous gardens all around. The whole city was encircled by cannons so that no enemy could enter very easily. They saw that all the crossings of the roads were decorated with gold, and there were many rich men's houses, all appearing symmetrical, as if constructed by one engineer. The houses were decorated with costly jewels, and each and every house had nice compounds of trees, fruits, and flowers. The gardens, corridors, and verandas of the houses were decorated with silk cloth and embroidery work in jewels and pearls. In front of the balcony windows were pigeons and peacocks walking and cooing. All the grain dealers' shops within the city were decorated with different kinds of flowers and garlands, newly grown grass, and blossoming roses. The central doors of the houses were decorated with water pots filled with water, and a mixture of water and yogurt was sprinkled all around. There were flowers decorated with burning lamps of different sizes over the doors, and there were also decorations of fresh mango leaves and silk festoons on all the doors of the houses.
Thank you. I see Shuddha Sindhu is here. Are you able to read now, Shuddha Sindhu, or not?
Okay, I try to read now. Okay, I wish.
Okay, just one second, please, before you continue. I just would like to look at a painting here. Okay, we're finished with that. We're not there yet. Okay, so here's Krishna and Balaram entering into Vrindavan. Isn't that beautiful?
Into Mathura.
Into Mathura, excuse me.
Yeah.
I don't think we're quite at that part yet. It's just a little bit further in. But I love this painting.
Mm-hmm.
So soon Krishna will be meeting the yes, here's Krishna. This is also a painting of Krishna and Balaram entering into Mathura. I love how they're painted.
Mm-hmm.
They look so realistic, especially that little boy who's offering on the right there, the fruit. Very well done. Might be nice to know who's doing all of these. Okay. Shuddha Sindhu, please.
When the news spread.
When the news, okay. When the news spread that Krishna, Balaram, and the cowherd boys were within Mathura city, all the inhabitants gathered, and the ladies and girls immediately went up to the roof of the houses to see them. They had been awaiting the arrival of Krishna and Balaram with great anxiety, and in their extreme eagerness to see Krishna and Balaram, the ladies did not dress themselves very properly. Some of them placed They are dressed in the wrong place. Some anointed their eyes on one side only, and some wore ankle bells only on one leg or wore only one earring. Thus, in great haste, not even decorated properly, they came to see Krishna from the roof. Some of them had been taking their lunch, but as soon as they heard that Krishna and Balaram were in the city, they left their eating and ran to the roof. Some of them were in the bathroom, taking their bath, but without properly finishing their bath, they came to see Krishna and Balaram passing by very slowly and smiling. Lord Krishna immediately stole their hearts. He, who is the husband of the goddess of fortune, passed through the street like an elephant. For a very long time, the women of Mathura had heard about Krishna and Balaram and their uncommon characteristic, and they were very much attracted and eager to see them. Now, when they actually saw Krishna and Balaram passing on the street and saw them sweetly smiling, the ladies' joy reached the point of ecstasy. When they actually saw them with their eyes, they took Krishna and Balaram within their hearts and began to embrace them to their fullest desire. Their heads stood up in ecstasy. They had heard of Krishna, but they had never seen him, and now their longing was relieved. After going up on the roof of the palaces of Mathura, the ladies began to shower flowers upon Krishna and Balaram. When the brothers were passing through the streets, all the brahmanas in the neighborhood also went out with sandalwood and flowers and respectfully welcomed them to the city. All the residents of Mathura began to talk among themselves about the elevated and pious activities of the people of Vrindavan. The residents of Mathura were surprised at the pious activities the cowherd men in Vrindavan must have performed in their previous life to be able to see Krishna and Balaram daily as cowherd boys. Do I read again?
I don't know. Did you read 2 paragraphs?
Only one. Okay. While Krishna and Balaram were passing in this way, they saw a washerman and dyer of clothing. Krishna was pleased to ask him for some nice clothing. He also promised that if the washerman would deliver the nicest dal cloth to him, he would be very happy and all good fortune would be his. Krishna was neither beggar nor was he is in need of clothing, but by his request, he indicated that everyone should be ready to offer Krishna whatever he wants. That is the purpose of Krishna consciousness.
Okay, so the washerman. All right. Unfortunately, this washerman was a servant of Kamsa and therefore could not appreciate the demand of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the effect of bad association. He could have immediately delivered the clothing to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who promised him all good fortune. But being a servant of Kamsa, the sinful demon could not accept the offer. Instead of being pleased, he was very angry and refused the Lord's request, saying, "How is it that you are asking clothing which is meant for the king?" The washerman then began to instruct Krishna and Balaram, "My dear boys, in the future, don't be so impudent as to ask for things which belong to the king. Otherwise, you will be punished by the government men. They will arrest you and punish you, and you will be in difficulty. I have practical experience of this fact. Anyone who unlawfully wants to use the king's property is very severely punished." On hearing this, Lord Krishna, the son of Devaki, became very angry at the washerman, and striking him with the upper portion of his hand, he separated the man's head from his body. The washerman fell down dead on the ground. In this way, Lord Krishna confirmed the statement that every limb of his body is capable of doing everything he likes. Remember that? Angani yasya sakalendriya vriti manti pashanti panti kalyanti. That's the verse. Without a sword, but simply with his hand, he cut off the head of the washerman. This is proof that the Supreme Lord is omnipotent. If he wants to do something, he can do it without extraneous help. So back to Krishna Chandra, unless someone else has arrived. Has anyone else come? Jiva Mukta is not here.
Looks like we're steady. We haven't gained or lost anyone. Okay. After this ghastly incident, the employees of the washerman immediately dispersed, leaving the clothing. Krishna and Balaram took possession of it and dressed according to their choice. The rest of the clothes were offered to the cowherd boys, who also used them as they desired. What they did not use remained there. They then continued to proceed. In the meantime, a devotee tailor took the opportunity of service and prepared some nice clothes from the cloth for Krishna and Balaram. Thus, being very nicely attired, Krishna and Balaram looked like elephants dressed with colored clothings on the full moon day of the dark moon. Krishna was very much pleased with the tailor and gave him the benediction of Sarupya Mukti, which means that after leaving his body, he would be liberated and would attain a body exactly like four-handed Narayanas in the Vaikuntha planets. He also granted him that as long as he would live, he would earn sufficient opulence to be able to enjoy sense gratification. By this incident, Krishna proved that those who are Krishna-conscious devotees will not be lacking material enjoyment or sense gratification. They will have sufficient opportunities for such things. But after leaving this life, they will be allowed to enter the spiritual planets of Vaikuntha Loka or Krishna Loka, Goloka.
Yes, thank you. Before going any further, I just wanted to show the painting. This one was done by Pushkar Prabhu, and so this is the pastime here. Krishna and Balaram dressed as they like, and blessing the washerman. Now, but it makes me wonder. Okay, there's the washerman. You can see on the right-hand side, his head is chopped off from his body, but yet, he was given Sarupya, or was it Salokya Mukti? He was given the planet of the Lord, Vaikuntha planet. Did it say?
Sarupya Mukti.
Oh, the form of the Lord.
Yes.
And who's that's helping him with dressing up?
I had assumed it was one of the cowherd boys.
But did we read that?
Well, they didn't say exactly who helped, but that the cowherd boys took some clothes for their own as well.
Nandapatni?
I thought it was this tailor comes along.
Oh, yes, exactly.
And
that is correct.
Yeah. He's taking advantage of the service opportunity by contrast to the washerman who resisted service.
The washerman's assistants all dropped their bundles of clothes and fled down the road, scattering in all directions. Lord Krishna then took the clothes. Krishna and Balaram put on pairs of garments that especially pleased them, and then Krishna distributed the remaining clothes among the cowherd boys, leaving some scattered on the ground. Thereupon a weaver came forward, and feeling affection for the lords, nicely adorned their attire with cloth ornaments of various colors. So that's a weaver.
Yeah.
Srila Jiva Goswami explains that the weaver adorned the Lord with cloth armlets and earrings that look just like jewels. The word anurupataha indicates that the colors matched nicely. Krishna and Balaram looked resplendent each in his own unique, wonderfully ornamented outfit. They resembled a pair of young elephants, one white and the other black, decorated for a festive occasion. Pleased with the weaver, the Lord blessed him that after death, okay, so it's the weaver, that he would achieve the liberation of attaining a form like the Lord's, and that while in this world, he would enjoy supreme opulence, physical strength, influence, memory, and sensory vigor. Okay, so his name was, okay, now they're going to the house of the garland maker, Sudama. So that's what, where Krishna Chandra is going to continue. Please continue, Prabhu. After dressing nicely.
Excuse me. After dressing nicely, Krishna and Balaram went to a florist of the name Sudama. As soon as they reached the precinct of his house, the florist immediately came out and with great devotion fell down on his face to offer his respectful obeisances. He offered a nice seat to Krishna and Balaram and asked his assistant to bring out flowers and betel nuts smeared with pulp of chandana. The florist welcomed, greatly satisfied the Lord.
Okay, who's next? Let me see. Okay, it's Nanda Patni and then Shuddha.
The florist very humbly and submissively offered his prayers to the Lord, saying, "My dear Lord, because you've come to my place, I think all my forefathers and all my worshipable superiors are pleased and delivered. My dear Lord, you are the supreme cause of all causes of this cosmic manifestation. But for the benefit of the residents of this earthly planet, you have appeared with your plenary portion to give protection to your devotees and to annihilate the demons. You are equally disposed as the friend of all living entities. You are the supersoul, and you do not discriminate between friend and enemy. Yet, you are pleased to give your devotees the special results of their devotional activities. My Lord, I'm praying that you please tell me whatever you wish me to do, because I am your eternal servant. If you will allow me to do something, it will be a great favor for me." The florist, Sudama, was greatly pleased within his heart by seeing Krishna and Balaram in his place, and thus, as his choicest desire, he made 2 exquisite garlands made of various flowers and presented them to the Lord. Both Krishna and Balaram were very pleased with this sincere service, and Krishna offered the florist his salutation and benediction, which he is always prepared to bestow upon the surrendered souls. When the florist was offered benediction, he begged from the Lord that he might remain his eternal servant in devotional service, and by such service, do good to all living creatures. By this, it's clear that a devotee of the Lord in Krishna consciousness should not be simply satisfied by his own advancement in devotional service. He must be willing to work for the welfare of others, all others. This example was followed by the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, and it's therefore stated in their prayer, Lokanam Hitakarinu, Vaishnavas or devotees of the Lord are not selfish. Whatever benefit they derive from the Supreme Personality of Godhead as benediction, they want to distribute to all other persons. That is the greatest of all humanitarian activities. Being satisfied with the florist, Lord Krishna not only gave him benediction for whatever he wanted, but over and above that, he offered him all material opulences, family prosperity, long duration of life, and whatever else his heart desired within the material world. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to the 40th chapter of Krishna. Krishna enters Mathura. Beautiful.
It states that not only did Lord Krishna grant Sudam, this is from the Bhagavatam itself, not only did Lord Krishna grant Sudama the benedictions, but he also awarded him strength, long life, fame, beauty, and ever-increasing prosperity for his family. Then Krishna and his elder brother took their leave. And in the purport, it describes that we can see a clear difference between Lord Krishna's dealings with the nasty washerman and his dealings with the devoted florist, Sudama. The Lord is as hard as a thunderbolt for those who defy him, and as soft as a rose for those who surrender to him. Therefore, we should all sincerely surrender to Lord Krishna, since that is clearly in our self-interest. So I'd like to open it up for discussion. Nanda Patni, do you have any thoughts on what we just read?
Well, yeah, I mean, I may remember it without the text, but it's along the lines of Krishna is, more than happy to give these reciprocations of devotional service to his devotees here, yet you are pleased to give your devotees the special result of their devotional activities. Yeah, I thought that was a lovely point, because you see it with the weaver and you see it with the garland maker. There's kind of affectionate rapport with a devotee of the Lord who, is offering some sweet service, or service in a sweet devotional mood. And then you see this colossal reciprocation that Krishna gives them. All material benedictions and their spiritual desires as well. So it's a really beautiful mood of exchange.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if Krishna is giving material benedictions, if that's actually a benediction. Daneshwar Prabhu, welcome. Obeisances to you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Obeisances, Prabhu.
Coming. I don't know how much of this you caught. You probably know the story about Krishna coming into Mathura.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts, Prabhu, to share on
Yeah, I was remembering when I first read Krishna book. I got the Krishna book and I began reading it before I met any devotees. And I remember reading this. I was in university and I was thinking, well, that sounds like a good formula for success. You serve Krishna and you get everything that you could want. Right? Instead of struggling hard in the material world to get these things, just worship Krishna.
A good deal.
Yeah.
So that appealed to you.
Yeah.
From an economical point of view.
Well, I had no idea how to do that at the time, but that became apparent later.
That appealed to you.
Yeah.
Jivan Mukta Prabhu, welcome. Obeisances to you, Prabhu. And have you been listening in? Do you have any thoughts on what we've read? Jivan Mukta, Jivan Mukta. Maybe he's busy. It's busy behind the scenes, maybe. Okay. Krishna Chandra Prabhu, anything from you? On anything?
Not at the moment. I was just thinking in response to what was said about is it really a benediction for the material? But I was just thinking perhaps since it was sincere service done out of sincere devotion, that they could handle it. They would not be corrupted by the material benediction.
What do you think, Daneshwar Prabhu? Generally, like Nadanang Najanang Sundaram Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamare, we're taught by Lord Chaitanya that we should not desire wealth, followers, beautiful women, etc. And here we see the Lord giving the florist and even the demoniac washerman, the benediction of having the same form as the Lord, and the florist receiving so much material opulence. Generally, we think of these things as entanglement and not as a blessing. So, well, what do you think?
I mean, Krishna will not. We read that Krishna will not give such benedictions if it will interfere with the devotee's relationship with him. But, you know, as you were saying that, I'm thinking about Goloka Vrindavan, and it's such a wonderful place, and everybody has complete opulence there. So, you know, in this world, particularly, you know, we need things, and oftentimes the struggle to get the necessities of life becomes an impediment in devotional service. So I remember reading there's two things that spoil devotional service:
Right.
having too much material opulence and not enough. So
Okay.
something is required, and so Krishna is very kindly seeing to it that his devotees have what they need. Or on the other hand, also that the devotees can be satisfied with whatever they have, even if they have a pittance, like who is it, the Kulavikcha Sridhar, who is it that was making
Yeah.
the leaf cups?
That's
Yeah.
Kulavik Shudder, yeah.
Yeah. So he was quite happy with whatever he had, and even though it was meager, he was very satisfied with that. I mean, that's, you know, that's the benediction of devotional service, is that devotee becomes satisfied. And there's nobody else in this material world that is satisfied. Mention that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that in itself means that you can be happy, you know, because, you know, if you're never satisfied, like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, how can there be any happiness without
Mhm.
peace?
Mm-hmm. So you're okay. It's interesting. It sounds to me like what you're saying is that you're inadvertently making reference to, I think it's 617, yukta hara viharasya, yukta chesta sukarmasu, yukta swapna babodasya, yukta bhavati dukhaha. Is it one who is temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation can mitigate all miseries by practicing a yoga system? You can't eat too much, eat too little, sleep too much, sleep too little. The balance has to be there.
I wasn't thinking of that one particularly. I was
That came to
thinking
mind for me though, because you were saying we shouldn't have.
applies.
Because we're not all Gorka Shordas Babaji. We're ready to live under a boat or in a toilet, right? At least I'm not there myself.
But in this instance, it's a, you know, a resident of Vrindavan. It's in the Leela, so it's not like an example with a conditioned soul directly, because it's in Leela, and it's in the you know, Sudam is a Brijbasi, arguably.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm sorry, I'm not quite getting your point. What's your point about it being in
Well,
Leela?
you're saying that you're asking about the phenomenon of Krishna awarding material,
Right.
you know, things of this world. But my point is that I don't think that's quite the same as offering that to a conditioned soul, and that within this context, it's Sudama is in a Leela with Krishna.
Okay.
In Vrindavans, in a pastime. So it's not precisely comparable, if you know.
So in other words, he's giving, Krishna is giving Sudama more facility to serve him with, not sense gratification.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's Krishna's Leela, but is it Sudama's Leela?
Yeah, but this Sudama, as you know, is a florist. He's not the coward boy.
Okay, well, either way,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah.
And so you're asking, is it Krishna's or the florist Leela?
No, I'm saying Krishna comes, it's his Leela. He's having Leela.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody else in this world, even if maybe, you know, and I would think even those in Krishna's pastimes, they're not all having Leela. Kamsa wasn't having Leela.
Well, Because they are in a way, because they're like in that instance, people that are in the pastimes with Krishna directly, face to face, they attain these particular forms of liberation directly from him.
Yeah,
So
but that's after the fact.
Are you saying that they're just ordinary conditioned souls?
Well, I mean, let's take Kamsa, for example. We say, Krishna is not forced to take birth. He comes here for Leela. But everybody else is taking birth as a result of their karma. Except for those associates of the Lord, when he commanded them to take birth in the Yadu and Vrishni dynasties. So, they're participating in the Leela, but not everybody. I don't think this washerman or the florist, I would take it that they're, ordinary souls who had the fortune to meet Krishna and then, reacted as they were inclined.
Yes, it's an interesting point. Mm-hmm. I'll have to ponder that one.
But yet Kamsa is asked by the Lord. I mean, the Lord has arranged for Kamsa to be in the Leela. So your question is it Kamsa's Leela? Am I understanding you?
No, it's not Kamsa's Leela.
Right.
Kamsa is, well, I mean, if you go back to, was Kamsa one of the Jai or Vijay? I don't remember.
Yeah, yes, that's right.
Okay, then in a sense, yeah, Kamsa is Leela.
Right.
But they're chosen to take part in this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But not everybody. Let's say the sages who were worshiping Ramchandra, and they wanted to have conjugal relationship, and so they were born into Krishna's Leela so that they could do that. So that I don't take that as Leela. I take that as a result of their desire that they got to participate in Krishna's Leela. Not that their birth is Leela. Their birth is a result of their spiritual desire in previous life.
Right. In other words, the Lord's arranging it for them rather than arranging it for himself. Is that what you're saying?
No, they they have their desire to associate with the Lord in that particular in a conjugal way, but they couldn't with Ramchandra, so they took birth in Krishna's Leela.
Okay.
So that was right. That was the 16,000 princesses that Krishna rescued, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's their desire that caused them to be born, or you could say karma, desire. But that they were blessed with the opportunity to participate in Krishna's Leela. Yeah.
Okay. So anything else from you, Shuddha Sindhu? Any comments, questions? Or No, you're okay?
No. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm in the car actually.
Okay. Jivan Mukta, we haven't heard anything from you, Prabhu. Any thoughts to share?
Not
Maybe
present.
he's busy or something.
He's on mute and off camera.
Okay. So I just want to inquire from everyone, like it seems kind of hit and miss because some nights there's some time like we have right now to read a little bit of Nectar of Instruction, or we can continue reading Krishna book. So do you like the idea that if there is some time, we can also read a little Nectar of Instruction each evening, or do you think we should have philosophy on one night a week and Leela on other nights? Anyone have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I prefer the latter.
Oh, okay. So
Otherwise,
that's
Rasabats.
okay. I was thinking it doesn't matter where you bite in, like Prabhupada said, a sugar doll, it's all sweet.
Well, you know, you got a particular mood going with one, and you know,
I see. Okay.
Upadeshamrita is, you know, philosophy.
Heavy. Yeah. Yeah. It's not so much. Mahabudhi actually said the same thing to me earlier. So so we can continue with Krishna book if everyone's in agreement with that.
Sure.
You have some time left. Okay, let me just try to find this here where we're reading. We haven't heard from you, Daneshwar Prabhu, nor from Jivan Mukta if he's available. I don't know, but let me just see. Okay, will this come up on the screen now? Good. All right, so we finished here. And now the breaking of the bow in the sacrificial arena, chapter 41, Daneshwar Prabhu.
After leaving the florist's place, Krishna and Balaram saw a hunchbacked young woman carrying a dish of sandalwood pulp through the streets. Since Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure, he wanted to make all his companions joyous by cutting a joke with the hunchbacked woman. Krishna addressed her, "O tall young woman, who are you? Tell me, for whom are you carrying this sandalwood pulp in your hand? I think you should offer this sandalwood to me, and if you do so, I am sure that you will be fortunate." Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he knew everything about the hunchback. By his inquiry, he indicated that there was no use in serving a demon. One had better serve Krishna and Balaram and get rid of the results of sins. The woman replied to Krishna, "My dear Sham Sundar, dear beautiful dark boy, you may know that I am engaged as a maidservant of Kamsa. I am supplying him with the pulp of sandalwood daily. The king was very pleased with me for supplying this nice thing, but now I see that there is no one who can better be served by this pulp of sandalwood than you two brothers." Being captivated by the beautiful features of Krishna and Balaram, their talking, their smiling, their glancing, and other activities, the hunchbacked woman began to smear the pulp of sandalwood over their bodies with great satisfaction and devotion. The two transcendental beggars, Krishna and Balaram, were naturally beautiful and had beautiful complexions, and they were very nicely dressed in colorful garments. The upper portions of their bodies were already very attractive, and when the hunchback woman smeared their bodies with sandalwood pulp, they looked even more beautiful. Krishna was very pleased by this service, and he began to consider how to reward her. In other words, in order to draw the attention of the Lord, in order to draw the attention of the Lord, the Krishna conscious devotee has to serve him in great love and devotion. Krishna cannot be pleased by any action other than the transcendental loving service to him. Thinking like this, Lord Krishna pressed the feet of the hunchback woman with his toes, and capturing her cheeks with his fingers, he gave her a jerk in order to make her straight. At once, the hunchback woman looked like a beautiful straight girl with broad hips, thin waist, and very nice, well-shaped breasts. Since Krishna was pleased by the service of the hunchback woman, and since she was touched by Krishna's hands, she became the most beautiful girl among women.
Wow.
This incident shows that by serving Krishna, the devotee immediately becomes elevated to the most exalted position. In all respects, devotional service is so potent that anyone who takes it becomes qualified with all godly qualities. Krishna was attracted to the hunchback woman, not for her beauty, but for her service. As soon as she rendered service, she immediately became the most beautiful woman. A Krishna conscious person does not have to become qualified or beautiful. After becoming Krishna conscious and rendering service unto Krishna, she becomes very qualified and beautiful.
Any thoughts from you on what you just read, Dineshwar Prabhu?
Yeah, again, I was remembering as when I'd first read that, this coming back to back with the other one, with the last story, again, emphasizing the point that by serving Krishna, one receives all benediction. And I remember being very impressed with that. Of course, this is my first contact with the philosophy of Krishna consciousness and Prabhupada's writing. And so that first impression was very strong that I should do service. That if I serve Krishna, all of my desires will be fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, later on, after 10 or 20 years, you kind of lose that initial enthusiasm. You forget that kind of thing. Where you've been doing service for 20 years or some kind of service or some service or other. And, the results maybe were not like we may read in the Krishna book here. But it was that, what I was remembering is my first impression with that, and how this inspired me to want to engage in Krishna service.
It highlighted the value of devotional service, how you could anticipate that you would be content and satisfied.
Yeah, I accepted these stories as completely true, not some fairy tale.
Not Hindu mythology. It wasn't Hindu mythology.
Yeah, and because I accepted it at face value, I thought, okay, well, if I serve Krishna, why wouldn't I get the same result?
Mm. But sometimes it seems if we expect Krishna to reciprocate with us in a specific way, sometimes the faith may wane for some. We may have expectations.
I can tell a story about that.
Sure. Hey, Bhavatarini, obeisances to you. Thank you for coming. And is that your little nephew you brought? Or your grandchild?
No, this is Nari Hari.
Spiritual form.
Mini me.
Hare Krishna. What's his name?
Lokanath.
Lokanath.
Can you turn me into a child again?
And this is my daughter Kunti. These are some devotees. Come over and say hello.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Lokanath. Hare Krishna Kunti. I'm just north of Toronto, and we have Krishna Chandra in Long Island, and we have Nanda Patni in Santa Cruz, and Dineshwar.
Looks like you're in sunny Hawaii, though.
Sorry?
Looks like you're in sunny Hawaii.
Oh, I wish. We have Dineshwar Prabhu here from North Carolina, and Shuddha Sindhu all the way from Malaysia. So we're an international movement, as you know. And Jivan Mukta is in Deep Samadhi in Wasaga Beach.
Happy birthday, Bhavatarini.
Oh, thank you.
Happy
Your birthday?
She's 100. She doesn't look that old.
Yeah, I'm 110.
Yeah.
Oh,
Join
happy
the club.
birthday.
Hare Krishna to you, Hare Krishna to you, Hare Krishna Bhavatarini. May you never take birth again.
Haribo.
What if she wants to?
I would take birth again if it was to be with Krishna or Prabhupada.
No, may your next birth be in Chaitanya Leela or Krishna Leela.
Jai. Or Prabhupada Leela.
Or Prabhupada Leela, sure.
Okay.
Daneshwar Prabhu, did you finish your point? Oh no, you have a story. Daneshwar Prabhu has a story for us. Please continue.
Yeah, well, you're saying about, if a devotee expects a particular reciprocation with Krishna, they may get disappointed. But I'll tell you a story of how Krishna reciprocated with me in one very wonderful way. So I don't know if I told this story, stop me.
Okay.
After I was temple president in Vancouver for some time, or when I was temple president, I gave away my car, all my clothes. I had really nothing to function in the normal world. So I stopped being temple president, and I needed all of those things to get a job and be able to function in America. You have to have a car,
Right.
So I was struggling to find work. Things weren't going well, and I was, financial pressure. I was in a lot of anxiety. So one day I got mad at Krishna, and I did like this. Krishna, I'm your devotee. I've been serving you for years, and I need your help. I need $2,000 by the end of the month.
You got some nerve.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that was my heartfelt expression. I was angry, and but after I behaved like that, I was thinking, maybe I, maybe I overstepped the bounds. Anyway, so couple weeks later, I was out for a job interview, and after that, I came to an intersection as I was returning home. I was waiting at the red light, and as the light was changing from green to red on the other direction, a big truck went through the intersection, bouncing, speeding, trying to get through the light, and bouncing through the intersection, and a big box fell out of the back of the truck. So it's blocking the whole intersection. So I pull my car over to the side, I get the box out of the intersection, I'm waiting there for 20 minutes. I don't know, waiting for this truck to come back and, get their box, but they didn't show up. So I go home, and I look in the box, and this is in the mid 90s now. So in the box is a brand new computer. And you may remember in the mid 90s, computers were very expensive at that time. So I put an ad in the newspaper for it, and the first person who came to look at it put $2,000 cash in my hand.
The Krishna works in mysterious ways.
I thought it was a wonderful way. Immediately I saw Krishna reciprocating with me.
Wow.
Well, why? Why? Because I felt that, I was approaching Krishna, with emotion. I was going to him, and he reciprocated. And it was, it was a wonderful experience, and taught me that I can always depend on him. And if I need something, I can ask.
So sometimes it pays to get angry at Krishna.
Well, don't be artificial in your relationship. We get mad with each other sometimes. It happens.
Right.
Can I say something?
Please.
Sure.
Okay, one time I was walking with Jayananda Thakur. We didn't Jayananda then.
Yeah.
And we were going to see people working on Rath Yatra. And this one girl whose name was Leaf at the time from Norway was painting the carts. And someone had brought her all the wrong brushes and equipment and paint. And she was so angry at Krishna. She was yelling at Krishna and so angry. How can you do this to me, Krishna? I'm trying to serve you, and this has to be done. And she was really angry. And Jayananda said, you're so fortunate because you see everything as coming from Krishna. And I was impressed by that.
Did that placate her a little bit?
Yes. And actually then everything came together. And she was initiated not long after that. And at one point she was did Pujari work in Vrindavan temple.
Wow.
And she passed away a long time ago. She had cancer.
What's her name? Do you remember?
Leela Smarana.
Okay.
Devi
Cool
Dutta.
story. Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you like to read now, Bavatrini? You and Jiva Mukta are the only two that haven't read.
Okay, I'll see if Loki, can I read on this Lokna? Yes. Okay.
Okay. No, who was Daneshwar was the last to read, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was that your last sentence, Daneshwar, after becoming Krishna conscious?
Yeah.
She became very qualified and beautiful.
No. There, start with when a woman.
Okay. From when the woman was turned.
Okay. When the woman was turned by Krishna's favor into an exquisitely beautiful young girl, she naturally felt very much obliged to Krishna, and she was also attracted by his beauty. Without hesitation, she caught the rear part of his cloth and began to snatch it. She smiled flirtatiously and admitted that she was agitated by lusty desires. She forgot that she was on the street and before the elder brother of Krishna and his friends. She frankly proposed to Krishna, "My dear hero, I cannot leave you in this way. You must come to my place. I am already very much attracted to your beauty, so I must receive you well, for you are the best among all males. You must also be very kind upon me." Let me read, okay? In plain words, she proposed that Krishna come to her home and satisfy her lusty desires. Krishna, of course, felt a little embarrassed in front of his elder brother, Balaram, but he knew that his cowherd boyfriend, that the girl was simple and attractive. Therefore, he simply smiled at her words. Looking towards his cowherd boyfriends, he replied to the girl, "My dear, beautiful girl, I am very much pleased by your invitation, and I must come to your home after finishing my other business here. Such a beautiful girl like you is the only means of solace for a person like me, for I am away from home and not married. Certainly, as a suitable girlfriend, you can give us relief from all kinds of mental agitation." Krishna satisfied the girl in this way with sweet words. Leaving her there, he began to proceed down the street of the marketplace, where the citizens were prepared to receive him with various kinds of presentations, especially betel nuts, flowers, and sandalwood.
Could you make some comment on what you just read, Bavatrini? Do you have something you could say?
It's just so charming. Like, she was unabashed, even though let me talk, okay? I know you want to chant. She was unabashed and simple, and she just wanted to, she didn't notice anyone else there, just Krishna. And of course, he was a little embarrassed that his elder brother was there, but that didn't interfere with his accepting her service.
Does she actually go back to does Krishna actually go over to her place?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But she had material in the.
Is this Kubja or not?
Yes.
It is Kubja.
Yes. This is Kubja.
Okay. It's not mentioning her name though.
Maybe later. I don't know.
Maybe. Now, here is a painting of Kubja that I just found while I was talking to you. It's very beautiful. Looks like it's done by your European devotee artist. Isn't this beautiful?
Oh, yes. Very, very. Whoops.
Yeah, that came later. I don't remember that.
Right.
Yeah,
No.
that's a newer painting. Very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's that Russian artist that we have some of his work. We met him in Vrindavan.
Oh, I think his name is Vrindavan Das, isn't it?
No, his are more cartoon looking. What's the one?
Okay, right.
This, I mean, they're beautiful, but this one's more looks like a real person. His art. And we have a G-clay of his portrait of Prabhupada. Govinda Dasi commissioned a painting from that Russian artist to do her vision of his son in the spiritual sky. And do you remember that? What was it, Nuri? Nuri Hari's having to rest.
Okay. I'm trying to find the original artwork of Kubja
It's okay.
in the Krishna book.
Was there one in the Krishna book?
I don't know. Does anyone remember?
I thought there was a picture. I know there's the one of the flower person Sudama with the two beautiful garlands. And after that, I think there's a picture of Kubja and Krishna after when he goes to see her. I don't remember. Do you, Nandapatni?
No, I don't remember that.
I have the Krishna book here. Should I look?
Yep.
I recall one.
I'm going to get the Krishna book.
Jiva Mukta recalls.
Yeah, I'm going to look in the Krishna book while you recall that one. Okay.
I recall the one where they met on the street, where Krishna is speaking to her on the street.
Yeah, that's kind of
Probably right. You're probably right. Let me see if I can find it. The other day I was looking for a picture and I couldn't find it, and the next day it was there.
Here. Oh, I've never seen this one before. This looks like an ancient one. It's very cool. Wow. Let me just show you this one. I just found it. Check this one out.
Oh,
Krishna's got his foot on her toes and he's straightening her out.
that's amazing.
Isn't it?
The original chiropractor.
That's what I was thinking. That every osteopath and chiropractor should hear this story. This is beautiful, isn't it? Wow.
You know, you can imagine how pleased she was, right? I mean, you know, a woman who's hunchback, you know, every woman wants to be beautiful, and so she's hunchback and she's, you know, living with that, dealing with that. But now all of a sudden she's become this beautiful girl. Wow, that must have been amazing for her.
Krishna fulfilling all of her desires.
Yeah.
I think this is, let's see, no, that's not. I'm trying to find the original Krishna book. Or did you find it, Baba Tarini?
I have the book, but right now I'm on Mathura, but now it's jumped to the wrestlers and I don't see the picture of the flower garlands. Oh, here's the flower garlands. So that was before, I think, the flower garlands. That's before you met Kubja, because there was some man with cloth and he wouldn't give him any and they killed him and took the cloth before they saw Kubja. Is that correct?
Because he was working for Kamsa.
Right. So
Well, they were both working for Kamsa, both Kubja and the
florist.
yes, not the florist. Oh, it was the
I'm thinking
florist.
of the washerman. The washerman.
The washerman was working for Kamsa, and Kubja was also working for Kamsa. And the sandalwood paste she had was for Kamsa.
Right.
Oh, we don't down yet.
Here's another very beautiful painting. I've never seen this one before.
Wow, look at
Have
that.
you-
Yes, we.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very hard. For some reason, the Kubja is not coming up. Maybe I'm not spelling it the right way.
Were you looking on Google or what?
Yeah. Well, actually, I use DuckGo. What is it? DuckDuckGo.
Anyway,
What is it?
Yeah.
Go.
Is DuckDuckGo just as good as Google?
No,
Or
Oh,
private,
yeah, this
I
is
Google's not that good, they censor.
Pardon me? What?
Kunti's saying Google's not that good. They censor stuff.
Okay.
This
Oh, you
is,
found it.
Kubja and Krishna when he goes to see her.
Okay.
Can
Okay,
you see
that's the one. Is Kubja's name spelled K-H or K-U?
Oh, look,
Because I came across that, but I didn't know.
it says
that-
Kubja.
Hey, Dad.
Kubja.
Uh-huh. Kubja. Let's see. I think I got it here. Let me just
This
look.
is Kubja and that's Krishna.
No, it's not.
That's Krishna, yeah.
There it is. Okay, got it. Got it.
He says
Got
that
it.
Lokanath says that's not Krishna. His Krishna wears a flute and plays a flute and wears a peacock feather.
Oh,
Right, Lokanath? He doesn't think this is Krishna. That
Here.
is Krishna, but that's Krishna when he's in
Smart.
Mathura, not
He's
in
smart.
Vrindavan.
Here,
You like Krishna in Vrindavan.
here's the one that you were showing to us. This is Kubja
Yes.
and Krishna. That looks very early, like a very early piece of art.
Yeah, and the original Christian book.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
They had a marathon for Krishna book. Shamrani was saying in her, she did a video on her new book that was presented to the Prime Minister.
Right.
And she said that they had a marathon and they had already started people working together on paintings at that time when they did the Krishna book, which was, I think, 70.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like Kub just got a hookah there for Krishna.
Huh?
Yeah.
Kub just got a hookah there, bottom right hand corner.
A hook?
A hookah.
Oh, a hookah. Yes, she was actually a society girl. She
Okay.
went from just doing errands, being a maidservant, and then after Krishna did that, then it appears that she became a prostitute. But I thought that was.
So that reminds me of what is it, 932? I think it. Manghi partav yapasritya yepisyo papayonayo strio vaishyas tata sudras tepi yanti param gatim. That everyone can approach Krishna, even if they're from a lower woman, Sudra, whatever. So even though Kubja was a society girl, she got the supreme benediction.
Right.
Jivan Mukta Prabhu, we haven't heard from you. Could you be our last reader of the night?
Sure.
Okay, let's see. Let's just get back to where we are here. Okay.
Did you already read about the flower garland?
Yes, that's the before you arrived.
This painting's by Devahuti, and her mother, she was the mother of another disciple of Prabhupada, and she was maybe 50 years old, and we all thought she was ancient. And she never did the artwork with the other devotees. So you can see her paintings have a particular beautiful sweetness.
Unique. Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, where did you leave off, Baba Trini? Can you remember? Was it they were standing? Your hair and try. Was that it?
The mercantile men.
Is that where we're starting?
Yeah, I left off. Yeah, that's where it starts. The mercantile.
Okay, yeah.
men.
Go ahead, Jivan Mukta.
The mercantile men in the market worshipped Krishna and Balaram with great respect. When Krishna was passing through the street, all the women in the surrounding houses came to see him. And some of the younger ones almost fainted, being captivated by his beauty. Their hair and tight dresses loosened, and they forgot where they were standing. Krishna next inquired from the citizens as to the location of the place of sacrifice. Kamsa had arranged for the sacrifice called Danur Yagya, and to designate this particular sacrifice, he had placed a big bow near the sacrificial altar. The bow was very big and wonderful and resembled a rainbow in the sky. Within the sacrificial arena, this bow was protected by many constables and watchmen engaged by King Kamsa. As Krishna and Balaram approached the bow, they were warned not to go near, but Krishna ignored this warning. He forcibly went up and immediately took the big bow in his left hand. After stringing the bow in the presence of the crowd, he drew it and broke it at the middle into two parts, exactly as an elephant breaks sugarcane in the field. Everyone present appreciated Krishna's power. The sound of the bow cracking filled both sky and land and was heard by Kamsa. When Kamsa heard what had happened, he began to fear for his life. The caretaker of the bow, who was standing by watching, became very angry. He ordered his men to take up weapons, and he began to rush towards Krishna, shouting, "Arrest him, kill him, kill him." Krishna and Balaram were surrounded. When they saw the threatening motions of the guards, they became angry, and taking up the two pieces of the broken bow, they began to beat off all the caretaker's men. While this turmoil was going on, Kamsa sent a small group of troops to assist the caretakers. But both Krishna and Balaram fought with them and also killed them.
I just have a comment. Thank you, Jivamuk. Do you have something to say about what you just read?
Well, I had something that I wanted to say that I read last night, which was really quite fascinating, actually.
Okay.
And it was from the Bhagavatamrita. We had Bhagavatamrita. And let's see if I could find it again. But it was in reference to the Gopis, the Elder Gopis. And what it stated was, let's see if I could find the exact quote, but what it stated was that the Elder Gopis took the roles and of their daughters, that the Elder Gopis would imitate their daughters and engage in service to Krishna as their daughters would.
While you're looking for that quote, I can read another quote if you want me to do that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is in reference to the Kubja story that we're reading. This is from the Bhagavatam itself, and this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comment. As he walked down the king's road, Lord Madhava then saw a young hunchback woman with an attractive face who carried a tray of fragrant ointments as she walked along. The bestower of the ecstasy of love, that's beautiful, the bestower of the ecstasy of love, smiled and inquired from her. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that the young hunchback girl was actually a partial expansion of the Lord's wife, Satyabhama. Satyabhama is the Lord's internal energy known as Bhushakti, and this expansion of her is known as Prithvi, represents the earth, which was bent down by the great burden of countless wicked rulers. Wow, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I retract my statement that she was, as karma. She obviously participating in Leela. She's an expansion of the goddess of fortune.
But you could say it's karma in the sense that she's carrying the burden of everyone's karma on her back. Yeah, and then Vishwanath Chakravarti says, Lord Krishna descended to remove these wicked rulers, and thus his pastime is straightening out the hunchback. Trivakra is her name, actually. Trivakra. So it's not Kubja, unless Kubja has another name. This pastime of straightening out the hunchback Trivakra, as explained in these verses, represents his rectifying the burdened condition of the earth. At the same time, the Lord awarded Trivakra a conjugal relationship with himself. In addition to the given meaning, the word rasa prada indicates that the Lord amused his cowherd boyfriends by his dealings with the young hunchback. And then it says, the sight of Krishna aroused Cupid in the hearts of the city women. Thus agitated, they forgot themselves. Their clothes, braids, and bangles became disheveled, and they stood as still as figures in a painting. And then there, Vishwanath Chakravarti says that since the women of Mathura immediately experienced symptoms of conjugal attraction when they saw Krishna, they were the most advanced devotees in the city. There are 10 effects of Cupid. First comes attraction expressed through the eyes, then intense attachment in the mind, then determination, loss of sleep, becoming emaciated, disinterested in external things, shamelessness, madness, and becoming stunned, and death. These are the 10 stages of Cupid's effects. Vishwanath Chakravarti also points out that devotees who possess pure love of Godhead generally do not exhibit the symptom of death, since this is inauspicious in relation to Krishna. They do, however, manifest the other 9 symptoms, culminating in being stunned in ecstasy. Did you find what you were looking for, Jivanmukta?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Similar to what you're reading, actually.
Okay. Hey, can you come on camera, or do you prefer to be a black box?
Hold on. Let me just.
I mean, no discrimination against black boxes.
Okay, here we go.
That's much
Okay,
better.
so this is a commentary by Sanatana Goswami,
Uh-huh.
and it's a commentary on this verse. Although that reciprocal affection seems to follow the ways of the ordinary world, it is beyond the world. It combines intimate sweetness, amazing opulence, and worldly simplicity. This is discussing the relationships that the Brijavasis have with Krishna. Anyway, so here, when Mother Yashoda simply remembers Krishna. Okay, so first of all, before that, the loving dealings of Vraja are like nothing ever seen in this world. When Mother Yashoda simply remembers Krishna, milk flows from her breasts. And Nanda Maharaj is constantly drenched in a flood of his own tears of love for Krishna. The cowherd men use everything they have, even their wives and children, only for Krishna's pleasure, never their own. And some of the old ladies of Vraja adopt the mood of Yashoda, while others disguise themselves as their own young daughters to please Krishna. Krishna's friends are constantly desirous of seeing him, so much so that they cannot tolerate even the momentary obstruction caused by Krishna's passing behind a tree. And the blessed cowherd girls have no interest in life other than him. Whether separated from him or going out to meet him or enjoying his company, they relish all sorts of extraordinary ecstasy. So anyway, I thought, that whole section's extraordinary, the relationship of all of the, residents of Raj.
Where are you reading that from, Prabhu?
Brihad
Sorry.
Bhagavatamrita.
But I thought what was really interesting was that the old ladies either adopt the mood of Yashoda and or sometimes they disguise themselves as their daughters and please Krishna that way, which again is like, how are they pleasing him? Like, are they pleasing him in a conjugal way? Like it's very kind of a strange idea looking at it from, of course, from our perspective. But if they're disguising themselves as their daughters, their daughters are attracted to Krishna in conjugal love. So we've got the mothers of the gopis taking on that role of their daughters in that relationship with Krishna. I just thought it's the first time I heard that, and I thought it was quite fascinating, actually.
To please Krishna. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Listen, we only have five or six short little paragraphs to finish this chapter. Nanda Patni, do you mind sticking around a bit so that we can finish this chapter together?
Go ahead.
Okay, would you like to read or would you like someone else to read?
I'm fine to read.
Okay, good. Okay, so that the guardian of the bull, he's saying, we need to kill this Krishna, kill him. And a bunch of troops come and Krishna and Balaram fight and kill them. So now please continue after this.
After this, Krishna didn't proceed further into the sacrificial arena, but went out the gate and proceeded towards their resting camp. Along the way, he visited various places in Mathura city with great delight. Seeing the activities and wonderful prowess of Krishna, all the citizens of Mathura began to consider the two brothers to be demigods who had come down to Mathura, and they all looked upon them with great astonishment. The two brothers strolled carefree in the street, not caring for the law and order of Kamsa. When evening came, Krishna and Balaram, with their cowherd boyfriends, went to the outskirts of the city, where all their cars were assembled. Thus, Krishna and Balaram gave some preliminary hints of their arrival to Kamsa, and he could understand what severe type of danger was awaiting him the next day in the sacrificial arena. I'll just go on for a bit. When Krishna and Balaram were going from Vrindavan to Mathura, the inhabitants of Vrindavan had imagined the great fortune of the citizens of Mathura in being able to see the wonderful beauty of Krishna, who's worshipped by his pure devotees as well as the goddess of fortune. The fantasies of the residents of Vrindavan were actually realized, for the citizens of Mathura became fully satisfied by seeing Krishna.
Daneshwar Prabhu, could you read the next two?
Yeah. When Krishna returned to his camp, he was taken care of by servants who washed his lotus feet, gave him a nice seat, and offered him milk and palatable dishes of foodstuffs. After taking supper and thinking of the next day's program, he very peacefully began to take rest. Thus, he passed the night there. Continue?
Yeah, please.
On the other side, when Kamsa came to understand about the breaking of his wonderful bow and the killing of the caretaker and soldiers by Krishna, he could partially realize the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He could realize that the eighth son of Devaki had appeared and that now his death was imminent. Thinking of his imminent death, he could not rest the entire night. He began to have many inauspicious visions, and he could understand that both Krishna and Balaram, who had approached the precincts of the city, were his messengers of death. Kamsa began to see various kinds of inauspicious signs, both awake and dreaming. When he looked in the mirror, he could not see his head, although his head was actually present. He could see the luminaries in the sky in double, although there was only one set factually. He began to see holes in his shadow, and he could hear a high buzzing sound within his ears. All the trees before him appeared to be made of gold, and he could not see his own footprints in the dust or muddy clay. In dream, he saw various kinds of ghosts being carried in a carriage drawn by donkeys. He also dreamed that someone gave him poison and that he was drinking it. He dreamed also that he was going naked with a flower of garlands and was smearing oil all over his body. Thus, as Kamsa saw various signs of death, both awake and sleeping, he could understand that death was certain. And thus, in great anxiety, he could not rest that night. Just after the night expired, he busily arranged for the wrestling match.
Anything from you, Daneshwar, before Bhavatrini continues?
Yeah, what comes to mind for me is how Krishna is dealing with the demonic government, and which is how the devotees today should be dealing with the demonic government with all this stuff.
Uh-huh.
You know, calling them out and dealing with them in an appropriate way.
Mm-hmm. Including our own government, of our own movement.
Of course. Well,
that's another story.
Yeah, that's another one.
Bhavatrini, sorry, did you want to finish, Daneshwar?
That's all.
Okay, thank you. Bhavatrini, would you like to read the next two paragraphs?
There are a lot of people here right now, so you'll hear background noise. So someone else.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you for understanding. Yeah, I know Lokanath, he's very enthusiastic.
Oh, Lokanath, he's been participating and really listening. And I didn't introduce him to Linda, though. I saw she was.
Okay. Jivan Mukta, would you like to read the next two paragraphs? I'm just going through the names down the list here.
Sure, but I just read just a little while ago.
Okay, let me see if there's someone after you. Shuddha Sindhu and then Krishna Chandra.
I read now.
Well, one paragraph from you each, because there's only two paragraphs left.
Okay. The wrestling arena was nicely cleansed and decorated with flags, festoons, and flowers, and the match was announced by the beating of kettle drums. The platform appeared very beautiful due to streamers and flags. Different types of galleries were arranged for respectable persons, kings, brahmanas, and kshatriyas. The various kings had reserved thrones and others had arranged seats also. Kamsa finally arrived, accompanied by various ministers and secretaries, and he sat on the raised platform, especially meant for him. Unfortunately, though he was sitting in the center of all governing executive heads, his heart was palpitating in fear of death. Cruel death evidently does not care even for a person as powerful as Kamsa. When death comes, it does not care for anyone's exalted position.
Okay.
When everything was complete, the wrestlers, who were to exhibit their skills before the assembly, walked into the arena. They were decorated with bright ornaments and dress. Some of the famous wrestlers were Chanura, Mushtika, Shala, Kuta, and Toshama. Being enlivened by the musical concert, they passed through with great alacrity. All the respectable cowherd men who came from Vrindavan, headed by Nanda, were also welcomed by Kamsa. After presenting Kamsa with the milk products they had brought with them, the cowherd men also took their respective seats by the side of the king. Please don't block that. On a platform especially meant for them. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 41st chapter of Krsna, the breaking of the bow in the sacrificial arena.
Jai, so what it says, being enlivened by the musical concert, these wrestlers passed through with great alacrity. Does anyone know what alacrity means?
Keenness, eagerness.
Brisk and cheerful readiness,
Yeah.
eagerness, willingness, readiness,
Mhm.
keenness, yes, enthusiasm, zeal, briskness, swiftness. Okay, so in other words, the wrestlers were very confident of themselves. They're getting ready for the big fight. So in the very last verse, there's just a brief comment by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur from his commentary. Nanda Maharaj and the other cowards, summoned by the king of the Bhojas, presented him with their offerings and then took their seats in one of the galleries. And it says, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the word Samahuta indicates that King Kamsa respectfully called the leaders of Vraj forward so that they could make their offerings to the central government. According to the Acharya, Kamsa assured Nanda as follows: "My dear king of Vraj, you are the most important of my village rulers. Yet, even though you have come to Mathura from your coward village, you have not come to visit me. Is that because you are frightened? Don't think that your two sons are bad because they broke the bow. I invited them because I heard they were extremely powerful, and I've arranged this wrestling match as a test of their strength. So please come forward without hesitation. Don't be afraid." Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur further states that Nanda Maharaj noticed his two sons were not present, apparently out of disrespect for King Kamsa's order. They had taken the morning off and gone elsewhere. Thus, Kamsa delegated some coward men to go look for them and advise them to behave properly and come back to the wrestling arena. The Acharya also states that the reason Nanda and the other coward men sat in the galleries was that they could not find any sitting places on the royal dais. Anyone have any further comments on this? Please.
I thought it said that they sat down, particularly In the Christian book, it sat down on an area specifically arranged for them.
Well, here it's saying that area is a gallery.
Do I remember that wrong?
We can go back and just have a quick look and see if that correlates. Do you see? Does it say?
I think you have to scroll up more. More?
Even more?
Yeah.
This is like going way back. This is
That's
past.
too far. They
That's
went
it.
back
No.
to the camp. It says Krishna returned to his camp.
Right.
So that's too far back.
Yeah. The wrestling arena was
Okay.
prepared.
Yeah.
The kings had reserved thrones. Here it says reserved, and others had arranged seats also. That's
Yeah.
the kings. That's the kings. But I
I mean,
don't know.
that would have been appropriate because they're Krishna's parents, family.
Right. But it seems that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur had a slightly different perspective.
Yeah.
He's allowed to do that. So next coming up is Krishna killing the elephant Kuvalya Peda.
Kavalya Pita.
Peda, yeah. And so Baba Trini, do you have a song about Kuvalya Peda for next time you read Krishna?
I wrote the song in the early 90s.
Okay.
And I haven't played it or seen the song for about 20 something years.
Can you try to brush up on that for the weekend?
Well, we'll see. Mary Hari and I will see if we can
Okay.
remember. I don't even remember the melody.
Okay. We'll probably come back to you. Krishna is the source of all. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti.
You can probably find a tape somewhere.
It was never recorded.
No?
Isn't that on
might-
YouTube?
No, it is. No, it's not on YouTube. It's so long ago, there was no YouTube, but it might be on a DAT, but we don't
Okay.
even, one of those tiny little DAT players.
Right,
but,
right.
I don't have any way to play it.
Dineshwar Prabhu, do you think we should continue with Krishna Leela on Monday, or do you think we should, because you were making the point, and Mahabhuti was making the point, we should stick with philosophy on certain days and Leela on other days. So we've got the Kuvalya Peda elephant waiting. Can we make him wait till Wednesday and read Nectar of Instruction on Monday? What do you think we should do?
I disagree that we should have philosophy one day and
Okay.
Leela the next day. Srila
Okay, please give your
Prabhupada
reason.
Srila Prabhupada never said that we should go without Leela or without philosophy. So
So you like the idea of both?
Yes.
Well, Krishna book, if you look at Krishna book, it's like completely intertwined philosophy and Leela. It's like you can't separate.
Just by reading the Krishna book, you're getting both philosophy and Leela at the
It's
same time.
inseparable.
Right. So I'm just trying to, I just want to know, what would you all like to do? Would you like to continue with the Krishna book on Monday, or should we go back to Nectar of Instruction? I was trying to do both on the same day, but it depends how much time we have. Some stories are longer than others. Others have many comments to make.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Whatever we've done so far has always been wonderful. So
Okay.
whatever you decide is.
It's too loud. It's too loud.
As long as you have no objection, Dineshwar Prabhu.
No, it's your show.
No, I'm here to serve you. It's for all of you.
Anyway, I think philosophy one day, Christian book the next.
Uh-huh.
Because they're different flavors.
Uh-huh.
That's my opinion.
The thing is, what I've noticed is sometimes there's so much in Krishna book that many days go by, we don't read any nectar of instruction because there's just too much in the Krishna book. There's so much, and everyone has so much to say. So
I noticed with both Srila Prabhupada's lectures and Srila Narayan Maharaj, sometimes for public, Prabhupada would give basic, you're not your body, you're part and parcel of God, we're all meant to serve God. But in most, I don't remember any class where he didn't bring in Leela. It's like, and Narayan Maharaj always ended with some Leela, and Srila Prabhupada also.
Okay, so on Monday then, why don't we continue finishing this?
Just a minute, Nuri had an input. What was that?
Many times he just did mana shiksha. The Prabhupada lecture us.
Oh yeah, in Vrindavan he said that Prabhupada just did mana shiksha with no Leela for sometimes 2-hour classes. So I'm incorrect in what I'm saying.
What are you defining as mana shiksha?
Raghunath Das's book, Instructions to the Mind.
Prabhupada would speak mana shiksha?
Oh, Gurudev.
Yeah, I've never heard of any. Okay, so I propose we're like halfway through verse 2 of Nectar of Instruction. I propose we finish that on Monday, and then once we finished it, there could be time for Krishna book after. Okay.
I'm okay with it. Whatever. Either way is wonderful.
Yeah. Otherwise, days will go by and we'll not read much Nectar of Instruction at all. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming together, and wish you an ecstatic weekend in Krishna service. And I'll see you Monday, Krishna willing.
Jai.
Jai Prabhupada.
Vanchikalpa, Trubis, Namo Namah. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari.